Welcome to Scary Stories from the Rez. I'm your host, Meagan Howard-Gibbon, and today we're joined by a truly gifted storyteller, Colton Phillips. Colton is of Tŝilhqot'in descent, and I met him while working together in the school district. His talent for storytelling is unmatched, and today he's here to share some unforgettable tales from his community. Thank you so much for joining us, Colton.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really happy that you're able to come on this podcast because I've heard your storytelling before, and you're quite a gifted storyteller.
Thank you.
Yeah. So can you tell us what it was like growing up out in Anaheim?
It's a pretty secluded community. It's an hour west of Williams Lake there, and it's like up onto the plateaus, and you have to go back down onto our rivers, the Tŝilhqot'in River. And it was very beautiful growing up there, and the community growing up there was like something else. Like, I have a lot to thank for my community for how I turned out as a person, because that's what it was. It was community. We all took care of each other, and like we all knew each other. And I remember when I was a kid running around the reserve there and going into a house, a random person, not random, but it's like family, but then like, oh, here's some bannock, and I'm like, oh, thank you. And we'd run to the next house, they give us some bannock, and then just all growing up there on the res school with all my cousins and all that, and all family. I didn't have to worry about I guess living in a city, strangers and whatnot. It's just everybody you knew. So you had everybody to always back you up and take care of you and whatnot, no matter what was happening. And that's the thing I love about community, and that's why I try to bring into everywhere I go, is that community that I grew up with.
So did you learn your storytelling from someone when you were a kid, or how did that come about?
As a kid on the reserve, I listened to a lot of stories from a lot of elders, because there wasn't really a lot to do besides running around the reserve, going through the forests and mountains and whatnot, helping with the fish and whatnot, and just living. So listening to a lot of stories from elders during around campfires at those culture camps and at our fish camps. Like, fish camps every summer were like some of the best times of my life, because I was always with my cousins, always with family. We always have these little campfires, and we just tell stories all the time, and we'd make up our own stories and all that. But whenever the elders would talk to tell the scary stories, all of us kids would just sit down and listen, not a word out of any of us. We'd just be watching them. It's like intent and just wanted to learn more and more and more. And that's pretty much where the love of my culture came from, is like learning about these stories, these cool, creepy stories, and like all these creatures and all these things that are in there, and the lessons we learn from them, and like how they would teach us, like, oh, don't do this, don't do that, or if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And a lot of lessons through those stories. And it was like how our oral tradition was, right? We listened, all our teachings were from these stories around a campfire at nighttime when we couldn't do anything else. And that's what I always teach my students when I tell them my schools there. I always say to them, this is where the learning happened, around a campfire. And half the learning happened, and the other half was out there experiencing it. So I have all those experiences, all of my elders and my family telling me all their stories when they were younger and all that, all the things that happened around our reserve there. And like, one main thing was like Sasquatch stories. Always, everyone I knew growing up from our community, everyone had a Sasquatch story. Nobody was like, oh, it was like something that nobody believed in. Like, everybody believed in. That was like one of the things they always used to tell us kids going outside was oh, don't be in the forest at night. Don't do this. Don't go too far back there, or else the Sasquatch is going to take you and you'll never see you again. So all of us kids always had that in the back of our minds. Every time we were going through the forest and all that, we'd be all looking, oh, keep your eye out for Sasquatch.
I've actually been to Anaheim for, we shot a movie there. It was called it was not. It was called Portraits from a Fire. And the one thing I noticed when we were there is everyone had Sasquatch stories. Like, more than anywhere else I've ever been. There's so many Sasquatch stories from there. And then when I heard you telling your stories, I was like, they have a lot of these, and I don't know if it's real. I don't know what people see. I made a friend who lives there, and he was sending me pictures of, he described like what it looked like when he saw a Sasquatch, and then he'd be like, send a picture and be like, this is what it looked like. And so I was always, I never wanted to go out at nighttime when we were there to do something, but my friend was like, let's go Sasquatch hunting. And I'm like, no.
That's usually what every from outside reserves like. They don't want to go out there because they know all these scary stories we tell them and whatnot. And then there's us crazy Tŝilhqot'ins like, yeah, let's go, let's do this, let's find this. It's like, what? Let's go. One of my first experiences, like I've heard about the stories and all these like warnings from the elders and whatnot, is when I was like 7 or 8. It was back when I was a young kid, and it was at my grandma's house, and that's where we spent every summer all the time. It was always at my grandma's house. All my cousins would be there from all over the place. We all come together for the summer. We all stay at grandma's house, and then all the adults would go off fishing, go down to the river, and they'd fish all night because they had to collect the fish for the winter and whatnot. And they'd leave us kids home alone because back in the day, there was nothing else for us kids to get in trouble. We just go walk around and do our own thing. But they used to tell us this one particular night. I remember they told us 3 rules. They said, don't play hide and go seek in the dark, close all the blinds and windows, and don't answer door for anybody. And we're like, okay, we won't do that. And then they're like, okay, we're going down to the fishing stand. We'll be there for maybe a couple hours. We might get home late, so you kids behave, listen to the rules, and go to bed. And we're like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. Of course, we didn't. We played hide and go seek all the time. It was like our go-to game in the dark, in the basement all the time. But so this particular night, my cousins all came up with the idea, like, hey, we got the upstairs free. There's no adults there. We can go upstairs and hide and go seek upstairs. We've never done that before. We're like, oh my God, yeah, let's do that. It's going to be a whole new experience, new hiding spots everywhere. So we did that. One of our cousins went to the basement. They had to hide their eyes, and we were all hiding in the top floor in the living room. And then there's a kitchen behind us and the dining room between them. And then the hallway that goes into the other rooms. So we're all giggling, laughing, holding our breaths, like trying to not to laugh behind our hiding spots, hiding behind curtains, hiding underneath couches, behind stuff and everything. And then my cousin, she goes, ready or not, here I come. She walks up the stairs. We could just hear her steps because it was just quiet in the house. And like it was just getting dark there. So there's like a little bit of light coming in through the windows because we never closed the windows. We forgot to close the curtains and everything. And then as soon as she got to the top step there, we were waiting for her a couple seconds. We could hear her like turning around. And all of a sudden, she screamed really loud, so we all jumped out of our hiding spots. We're like, oh, what happened? What's going on? And we just look at her, and she's pointing past all of us, looking at the window, just pointing at the window. We all follow her finger, and we look, and there's just a big face just like looking at us through the windowsill. And it's like, this is the top floor, so it's like a basement and then a top floor, so something peeking in through the window. And my grandma had these big, wide windows, big panes of glass, and all we could see was like that. Its nose was up. Its big head, and it's just like fur, and its face is like really big eyes. I remember those eyes. And then I remember this tapping. It raised its hand and just dum, 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 tapping on the glass. All those kids jumped behind our hiding spots again. We screamed, we all hid, and we were like terrified. Like, what is that? What is that? We didn't know what was happening. And then this thing kept tapping on the window, tapping. And we were just like, didn't know what to do, hiding still. And then all of a sudden we started hearing big, loud footsteps, dum, dum, walking around. We were like, oh, and then it went behind a wall. And then we knew it was going to go to the next window, and there's another big pane of glass there, and it was going to see where our hiding spots were. So we all had to jump into different hiding spots. We'd crawl around, go to another spot, and we were hiding, trying to keep as quiet as we could. And it went to that window looking for us, and it's still tapping on the window, looking around. And my cousin Kevin, I remember he was the bravest of us. He followed it around because it kept going around the house. And he followed it. Whenever it went behind a wall, he'd move with it, and then he'd like tell us, hide, it's going to go to the window. So we'd all hide another spot. And then on the third time around, as it's tapping on the window, it's starting to get like more and more, like I think it was getting frustrated or something. It was tapping harder. And then after that third round, it started to go walk. My cousin Kevin said it started walking into the forest there. And as soon as it went into the trees there, he was watching it on its back there. And as soon as it walked into the trees, he said it like disappeared, vanished into like thin air. And he's like, he told us, it's gone. But all of us kids, we didn't leave our hiding spots. We stayed in our hiding spots. We were just holding ourselves and just like didn't want to say anything, didn't want to talk or anything, because we thought if we talked, it would hear us and come back. And we stayed in our hiding spots until like the adults got back later, late that night. It was like 2 a.m. when they got back. And as soon as we heard the door open, all the lights are off still because none of us were brave enough to go touch the lights. As soon as the adults walked in the house there, we all jumped our behind us, ran over them and started crying. Something happened, and the adults were like, what's going on, what's happening? And we told them what went on, what we did and what we saw and what was going on and what we did. And then they just, first thing they say is like, see, that's why we tell you not to play hide and go seek at dark. That's why we tell you that. And we're like, oh, we're sorry. And so they sent the adults out to go check outside there, and they could see that the grass all around the house there was all pushed down, and my grandma had some flowers in some of by the windows there, and some of them were stomped down too. And then They went out and looked at that forest where my cousin Kevin said it went off to, and then they just came back and they told us, that's what got mad at us more. And then they kind of like, all right, everybody back to bed, everybody let's get ready for bed and all that. And then that was like a memory I've had for a while. Like I kind of forgot it until I started bringing out these scary stories again. And then I almost kind of like didn't believe my own story at first. And I was like, did that really happen? Or was I just imagining that as a kid? Maybe my imagination was wild. And then I actually contacted some of my cousins that happened with. And I was like, hey, do you remember this one time when we were playing hide and go seek upstairs? And then my cousins got back to me like, yeah, we remember that. I remember that. Yeah, this thing was walking around the house and it was tapping on the window. I was like, oh my gosh. And I wasn't imagining it. It was real. That was real. And like, I don't know why I ever thought it was imagination, because I remember it was just like deep inside of me I still remember that, hearing that ding, ding, ding of its big finger touching the window there, and just like you hear the pane of glass just wobble every time it hit. That was like my first experience with the Sasquatch. That's when I first saw one.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrifying. I just always remember those big eyes too, big eyes looking in at us and just looking at us. And I always tell the kids, maybe it was trying to play hide and seek with us. Maybe it was the seeker trying to find us and it couldn't find us, so it left. And then we always told ourselves that, hey, that's why you don't hide and go seek in the dark. But we still kept playing hide and go seek in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And then another experience, this happened. They brought us to one of our fishing camps. It was across the river from my grandma's house, and this night was really deadly this time, because all my grandma and some of her sisters, and then there's another elder. We called him Grandpa Jack, even though he wasn't our grandpa, but we just called him Grandpa Jack. He was kind of like our Uncle Jack, but we called him Grandpa Jack. And he had there were scary stories my mom told that were very scary, and then there were scary stories my grandma told that were really scary. And about my Uncle Jack, his scary stories are if you could measure them, they were just terrifying. I still remember those stories, some of them, and just raises the hair on the back of my neck whenever I think about them. And he was an amazing storyteller. When he told you scary stories, if he said you were running around through the rain, or you could feel the rain on your skin felt wet. And he said when you could feel the wind blowing through your hair, you just started feeling that. He was just an amazing storyteller. I wish I could be half the storyteller he was, because then everything would be terrifying. But on this night, my grandma started telling us scary stories about Sasquatch and all that. And we're like, oh yeah, we're surrounded by the river, or the river's behind us kids, the fire is in between us, and the elders are in front of us. And so as my grandma was telling these scary stories, telling us about Sasquatch and whatnot, and then I went to her sister, she told us some more Sasquatch stories. My mom told us some Sasquatch stories, and then they said, Uncle Jack, tell us some scary stories. And my Uncle Jack, he smiled big. He looked at all of us kids sitting in front of him, and his scary stories about Sasquatch, and his scary stories there was the ones about the devils and demons and all that, and just it was crazy the amount of details he put into them, and just made us all feel like we were there. But the experience I had during that night is that Sasquatch, they usually told us as a kid, Sasquatch has a very unique, gross smell, very rank smell. You can smell it, as soon as you smell it, you know it's not something that should be around there, and it'll just come out of nowhere. And so as my Uncle Jack's finishing up some of his stories there, the smells wafted through this camp. There's trees behind the elders and the river behind us, and just smells came right through the camp there. And all those kids started holding their nose, ew, what's that smell? What's that smell? It was just disgusting. I still remember, I can never describe it. The best way I could describe it was rotting fish mixed with some other stuff that's been left out, maybe meat, beef or something that's just been sitting for a long time. And I just still remember that smell to this day. And as we started smelling it, the elders started smelling it too, my grandma and all them, and they all started whispering to each other and called my mom over. And us kids were just getting worried and getting more scared as we were watching these elders and talk and whatnot. And then my mom speaks up. She's like, all right, kids, we're going to leave tonight. We're going to pick up some stuff. We're going to go to the van. We're all going to get in, okay? And then some of the men stayed because the younger men, the adults, they stayed because they wanted to get more fish. But all the elders and us kids and my mom and all of us went out. I remember carrying a big metal teapot out of this camp there. We're walking out of the forest, and it was a pretty bright night this night. I remember in the field right next to the path going towards the van, I looked over, and there was a big shadow, looked like a big tree trunk, gnarly tree, just looking just big in the field there. And then I was like, okay, whatever. And I walked to the van. I put the metal teapot in the van. I looked back, and then that thing was just gone. That figure, I thought it was a tree, but it was just disappeared. And I was like, what? And I looked at my cousin, and he's like, did you see that too? And I was like, yeah, there was something out there. And then we had jumped in the van, and everybody got in, and we turned it around, and we were driving out. And I remember my dad was driving back in. and he was bringing the firewood for the fire and the fishermen there. And then so they stopped by each other, and then he's like, okay, you guys go home. We're just going to drop off this wood, and we'll be right behind you. So we left, and then this is his part of the story. He says when he got to the camp there, the men ran out of the camp. They were like telling him, whoa, something's out there. Someone's over there messing around with us there. And then my dad sent his friend with him. He was like, hey, you go with them. I'm just going to get this wood out of here, and I'll be right behind you guys. So my dad started throwing the wood out of his truck there. He got onto the ground. He's on the side there, and all of a sudden he hears footsteps on the other side of his truck, and he thought his friend came back. So he grabbed the wood, and he was looking over, about to say his name. And then when he said he looked over there, he said something was over on the other side of the truck looking at him. Like, just remember he seen his eyes there, and like dad like froze. And then before he could breathe or something, the other guys came running out of the forest again. And when my dad looked back at the thing, it was gone. He just grabbed all that wood, and he's like, all right, get in, we're all going. And they took off back to our reserve there. We left that camp there, left the fire going and everything. But yeah, wow. I was like, I just always remember that smell and just the amount of fear all of us kids are feeling, because we just always remember that they told us that Sasquatch are really stinky, so you always smell them, and then we just out of nowhere that smell comes. There's all these kids like, oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why do you think there's so much Sasquatch in that area?
I don't know. The one, I don't know why there would be so much Sasquatch in this area. Like, 'cause growing up with it, I just always thought it was normal. I thought that was like everywhere, And then I started listening to these podcasts where people like get called crazy for like thinking and believing it. I was like, what? How can you don't you have this stuff here? And then it wasn't until I was much older, I was like, okay, yeah, I guess it's not everywhere. Mm-hmm. But there are like crazy experiences that happen on our reserve, and a lot of, like I said, everybody has a story about Sasquatch. And like this one time, in 2017, the fires of 2017 around Williams Lake area, that year, it was after the fires happened and all of them were extinguished, and then like all the forests around our reserve were pretty much all burnt to a crisp. That December, I remember that December, because it didn't snow there until like the 23rd of December. Didn't snow, it was just no snow all the way to the 23rd of December. And I was living up here at the time. Still, I was working in the school, or I was working at a mill here. And my grandpa calls me, and he says, hey, there's something going on here. And then the rest of my family started calling me too. They're like, yeah, something else is going on here. And I was like, oh, yeah, what's happening? What's going on? And they said that for the last like week and a half, there's been loud yelling in the forest. Big, loud, whatever it was big. Like, you can tell it was big by how it sounded. And like they said, it was yelling from morning all the way till night, and all the way into night, like all the way to the next morning. It would be yelling all day, every day. They actually had to close the schools down for 2 weeks there, and they told everybody, watch out when you go outside. Don't go hiking. Don't go walking around the forest. Get in your vehicle and just go where you need to go. And so I'm like, okay, that's crazy. I was like thinking, okay, it's probably a Sasquatch. Maybe he's mad because the forest is all burnt down, and that's why he's like sad and whatnot, and he's yelling. And it went on for 2 weeks. And I remember that I called my brother up, and I was like, hey, you hear about that thing, the Sasquatch yelling around the back at the back of the reserve there? And he's like, yeah, I heard about it. I was like, yeah, let's go up there, and we got to go up there for Christmas anyway. We're going to go find this thing. So the night me and my brother got there, I remember it was snowing. It started snowing that night. It was December 23rd. And we're like, me and my brother like, oh yeah, now that it's snow, we can follow tracks. We can go into the forest and find this thing. And then that was the night it chose to disappear. Me and my brother didn't get to personally hear it. My auntie sent me recordings. I have recordings that I show my students all the time. Like, this was yelling out there. So we were out in the forest at Tennant Lane with two flashlights running around through the snow looking for stuff, and just me and him. Couldn't find anything, couldn't hear anything. We had to go turn around, go back. And it wasn't until a couple days later, like actually it was on Facebook, somebody was posting videos from a community that's across the mountains from us. Like, if you go through the mountains, straight up the mountains, you go up to, it's like west of Quesnel, and then they go straight from there, it hits this community. They are posting videos about something that was yelling around their community, and they were like, that was just with us. That was us. It crossed the mountains to you guys, so it's over with you guys now. And like, I wish I could find those posts again, but I was like, yeah, 2017 when that happened.
Wow.
And then yeah, just something big. People are like, oh, that's a cougar, that's a wolf. But I've never ever heard of an animal that would just yell every day, like morning, noon, and night for 2 weeks straight, and just disappear like that, go to another place and start yelling. Yeah.
Wow. What did the fire, I can't remember, where the fire spread to where the other reserve was?
Which other reserve?
The other one where they could hear the screaming, the yelling.
Oh, that Anaheim? Yeah, that was our reserve, yeah.
But then the other reserve where you heard where the people posted the Facebook posts from?
Oh no, that was like way across the mountains. You have to go to Williams Lake, and I drive to Quesnel and go out from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't remember. I try and find those ones, but yeah, it's in Facebook somewhere. And like somebody else has them, and whatnot.
Yeah.
I still have the yelling that my auntie Barbie sent me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I always shout it out to my kids, and they always get like they're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So in one video, like you can hear it's way far in the distance, but you can tell that it's big, and then another one's more closer, and you can hear other dogs barking at it. And I'm like, see, you hear the dogs barking, and then you hear this thing yell, like it's something you'd like you could say it's anything, but like it's not something that you can explain. I was like, whoa, it's crazy.
Did the Sasquatch sightings die down after that fire, or?
No, actually no. I've heard a lot of stories recently too. My uncles had some. And yeah, a lot of other people are still seeing them around.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Because I feel like every reserve, like that I talk to people, they always have different kinds of stories. Like when I was talking to someone from Claytley, it was like there's black entities in the forest and like ghosts and stuff. And then I talked to people from Whitsett, and there's like ghosts, lots of ghost stories from there. And then when I hear Tŝilhqot'in stories, it's always Sasquatch stories.
Yeah, it's always Sasquatch with us. And then we have I've heard stories about shapeshifters, and like I always tell as I tell my kids there, I say skinwalkers. I know that's a I think a Navajo thing. I think they call them skinwalkers, but I just call them shapeshifters and whatnot. There's people who become these things, DNs, medicine people who can transform into animals, who become evil and whatnot, and they're stuck in doing these things out there. I've always heard stories about those things, and like my Uncle Jack, I think, has a few of those skinwalker stories. And then my brother had a Sasquatch experience actually like a couple of years ago, back in like 2021, I think, and he had like pictures of it and everything, and it's like it's really the way he describes it. My brother's not one who gets shaken up. He's my younger brother, and he's not one who gets shaken up. And he didn't get shaken up with this, but it kind of like I guess opened him up for more realizations and whatnot. So the way he tells the story is really good. I love it when he tells me the story all the time. Every time I see him, I'm like, hey, tell me that Sasquatch story again. He always tells me how he felt and what was the situation like and where he was, and then what did it feel like being there and whatnot. He was just so descriptive of it, and I'm like, okay, that was really cool how you say that story. And this one time, or this other creepy part, me and my brother actually, it was a cave we explored. My uncle Robin took us up to this cave that's like back behind our community there. And then, so we explored it. It was funny because we got to this cave. It's just a big hole in the ground. And my uncle's just telling us, yeah, there's this cave. You're going to go and explore it. And I was trying to be the safe one. I was trying to be the older cousin. I was like, all right, because I don't want the little cousins with me and everything. I was like, there could be a porcupine. There could be a bear in there. It could be like a cougar in there. We never know what's in this cave here. But my brother, he just jumps into this cave. He just goes right into it. And I'm like, what's going on? And he looks up and he's like, hey, brother, it's all right, come on down. And I'm like, I'm coming down there, kill you myself. So I climbed down there with him. Me and him are shoulder to shoulder, climbing through the beginning of this cave. And the creepiest thing about this cave, well, not the creepiest thing, but one of the creepy things about this is at the very beginning of this cave, me and my brother found a bear skull. Perfect bear skull. That was just bone, no flesh. It's been there for years. No bite marks or anything on it. It's like perfectly preserved, whatnot, just sitting there in the dirt. I had to like dust off the dirt off of its head. And like we looked around, I was like, oh, we'll look around for any more bones. And there's no other bones in this whole cave. Like I couldn't find anything in there. I was looking around, digging up on the dirt there. There's no other bones. Like you'd think there'd be like even a little tiny like fragment of a bone or something, like a spine bone, anything that an animal couldn't bring out of that cave. But it was just this head in there at the beginning. And so me and brother were like, what the heck? What does this? What brings a bear head into a cave and just leaves it there without eating it or whatnot, without destroying it? And so we're like, okay, we go further into this cave there, and like we're on our bellies and hands and knees going through it. And at the very end of this cave, it wasn't too far. It wasn't too far to the back of the cave. Like the roof of the cave actually went up, and then there was a shelf of rock right beside us. And then if you look to the other side, there was a way that could go down further, but it like caved in. And so the shelf of rock was like really smoothed out, like something had gone on and off this thing for years and years and years. And it was like really flat and went way far. So if I laid on it, like I would only like take up half of the bed, whatever it was, like whatever laying there, I'd only take up half of it. So something bigger, his legs could like stretch out on it. I mean, my brother was standing there watching, looking at it, and I were like touching it. We're like, looked at each other like, time to go. We're like, yeah. And they jumped out, we started crying, we're pushing our cousins out of our way, like, go, get out of here. We grabbed the skull, we took off. We bring that skull back home, we saged it and whatnot, and cleaned it up and everything. And then it was funny because a couple months later, it was during Thanksgiving when that happened, when he found that skull in the cave. A couple months later in January, my grandpa actually calls me back. He calls me up, and he says, hey, remember that skull you got? And I was like, yeah, I got that bear skull. So he's like, oh, yeah. Remember that? Remember 2017? Remember those yelling that was happening in the forest there? And I was like, yeah, I remember that. And he's like, it started up again. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it only lasted for 3 days this time, but it started up again. We're like, what? And he's like, it's looking for that skull. You took its skull out of its house. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I called my brother. I was like, oh, did you hear what Grandpa said? And he's like, no. And I had to tell him. And he was like, oh, he cursed us. And I was like, no, there's no curses here. And it's funny because I actually have a tooth from that skull. I made one for my brother too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he has a tooth and I have a tooth because we went and explored that cave together, and just a thing to have. But yeah, it's just cool to think that whatever I was yelling there, I was looking for something that we took. So all my students keep saying, gotta bring that skull back. I'm like, nah, I'm not bringing that skull back. It's mine now.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else happened? So Sasquatch yelling. Oh, yeah. This one time, I know if it's like pretty much all native culture, we don't whistle at night, right? I've heard that in many different other cultures, nations, whatnot, don't whistle at night. And our nation's still like that too. And I remember this one time we're camping out at a lake that's 5-hour drive from Williams Lake, past our reserve, and it goes like right out there, almost near Bella Coola, kind of. And we're camping there for the week. And then my mom was there with her trailer, and I was just sleeping in the back of my truck with my dog. And I had my 2 little cousins there with me. And it was like 10 at night. It was pretty dark out. We wanted to take my dog for a walk so he'd use up his energy so he could go to bed easier. So we're out walking on a trail in the forest there. And all of a sudden he starts barking. He runs off. And I'm like yelling at him, Max, come back, get over here. And he just keeps barking, running through the forest there. And then my mom, she starts telling Max, and then all of a sudden she starts whistling. It's like pitch black, and she's whistling, and I'm like, wow, look back at her, like, don't whistle, you're not supposed to whistle. And he's like, oh my gosh, I didn't whistle, no. She's trying to play it off. I was like, no, you did, I heard it. Don't do that out here, don't do that. And then after like a minute, my dog stops barking, he comes back, and I was like, all right, let's go back to the camp. There we go, walking back. My 2 little cousins are with us still. We get into the trailer, and then I put my dog in, like my cousins get in, my mom goes in, and I'm walking in there with them, and she's like, I'm going to make you guys hot chocolate, all right? We're going to make hot chocolate, we're just going to hang out. And I was like, all right, I'll do that. You guys do that, I'm going to go back to my truck and grab something. So my truck is about maybe 20, 30 feet away from the trailer in the black darkness, and I had my flashlight. I walk over to my truck, open my passenger door, and I turn my flashlight off. The light comes on in my truck there. I'm rooting through some bags, looking for something. I can't remember what I was looking for. I had my door open there, and my back was to the trailer, my mom's trailer, and it's still pitch black out there. And as I'm digging through them, I feel something breathe on my ear, and all of a sudden I just hear, Colton. And I turned my head around, I whipped it around, I looked back, and there was nobody standing behind me, nobody near me, nobody outside the trailers. And I just like looking around, I was like, yeah? And then I grab my stuff, I close my door, and I run back to the trailer, and I grab my mom. I was like, Mom, did you call my name just now? And she's like, no. And I was like, did the twins call my name? And she's like, no. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I started freaking out. I was like, this is why you don't whistle at night, Mom. Someone out there knows my name. It knows my name now. And I was like, ah. My mom was like, oh my gosh. And then I sat in that trailer till like 2 a.m. Me and my dog just sitting there, and they were all asleep there. And I looked at my dog. I was like, all right, got a chance sitting. And we just ran to my truck, opened the back tailgate, and I threw him in. And I jumped in and closed the door, closed the gate, or closed the window for us. And I was sitting there looking at him. I was waiting for him to see if he was going to freak out or anything, but he kind of just curled up in a ball, went to sleep. I was like, all right, I guess whatever's out there is gone now. So I went back to sleep myself. But I was just feeling that like something breathed on my ear and just say my name. It was just one of the freakiest things ever. And I still always remember that.
Yeah. That makes my like back tingle.
Right? And that's why you never whistle at night.
Yeah. Do you have any theories of what that was, or? I don't know.
I think. Sorry. I think probably maybe a spirit, or maybe like people say that the shapeshifters and DN people, they could imitate voices and they could like speak from long ways away, but I want to think it was like some kind of like old spirit that just wanted to say my name and freak me out. So after that, I didn't hear anything else, nothing else after that, but just that one night.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything went back to normal. We didn't have any other experiences there, but it was like, it's an ancient place. It's like an old place that our people used to go to all the time, whatnot. So you can always feel the old magics and old spirits walking around, whatnot. And it's just a really beautiful place to be too. So I never really thought about if it was evil or not, but I was like, oh, something out there knows my name now.
Mm-hmm.
Something out there was freaking me out.
That's interesting.
Right?
That's really freaky,
Mm-hmm.
though. Do you think that, because sometimes people say that Sasquatches like reveal themselves to you because they can just like, I've heard some people say different things about like seeing a Sasquatch and what it means. Do you have any kind of meaning behind seeing a Sasquatch?
As a kid, I didn't have any of those. I thought they were just like came out just to freak people out and just do their own thing. I've heard always stories about them throwing rocks at people's houses and whatnot, and just kind of like being nuisances, not nuisances, but like kind of tricksters, like just want to mess around with people and whatnot. But then when as I grew older, I kind of thought that sometimes, yeah, they just show up to people that be like a sign for them, like change your life, or something good's coming your way, or there's something around the corner that you have to deal with. And like I think me and my mom think that too, like they're a good sign. And when my brother had a Sasquatch experience, when he saw that one out, he was a logger. He's way out in the bush there, and like some of the old growth forests and whatnot. So like I always tell him, you got to bring me back there. He's like, yeah, that place is, I know exactly where it was, and I know how I feel when I go there. So I was like, okay, yeah, it's probably an old place, old magics and whatnot. And when he saw it, me and my mom thought, yeah, it's just a good sign for him to see something like that, because it kind of opens him up for more things, and lets maybe the spirits come in for him and help him more in his life. And that's what me and my mom believe, that when you see one, maybe the spirits are just coming to calling to you and asking you to either change your life or do something important and whatnot. That's what we believe.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my mom. I don't know about everybody else, but
Yeah. So when you saw one, did it change anything for you?
like I said, I was like a 7 or 8, so for me it was just an experience that
Yeah.
kind of like maybe kind of opened me up to more, to like, oh, I like more scary stories. I like these creatures. I want to learn more about them. So it kind of like opened me up to more of my culture. That's what I kind of wanted from that point on. When I saw it, I was like, it really opened me up to that. So I asked for more stories. I talked to more people, and like as I got older, I started being more part of my culture, learning about them and learning our language and all that stuff. So in that way, it kind of helped me, kind of showed us not our potential, but like showed us that there's other ways to live your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do the students think when you tell them these stories?
They always get freaked out, and they always come up to me like, are those stories real? And I'm like, yeah, everything I tell you is experiences, or else like stories I've been told, passed down to me. So I don't know, man, like all my experiences are real. They're 100%, man. I'm not lying to you about these. I wouldn't tell you lies. Everything I try to tell you is all factual, and like people come to me with them. I tell you them the best way I can, but a lot of kids get freaked out, and I always have to tell them, look, you're living in the city here. All these creatures don't like living in the city. They don't like the electricity. They don't like the attention. All these creatures like being out in the forest and the freedom, and they don't want to be anywhere near humans unless you're out in their place. Then that's when you might see one. But for the most part, you guys are all good and safe here. And I have kids coming up to me like, I'm closing my curtains from now on forever. And I'm like, that's always good. That's always good. You don't want anybody looking at you. And like some parents I talk to, they're always like, oh yeah, you must be Mr. Phillips. And I'm like, yeah, you heard about me? You're like, oh yeah, Mr. Scary Stories. I'm like, yeah. Like, yeah, my kid couldn't sleep that first night. And I was like, oh, my bad. And they're like, ah, don't worry, they loved it. They all have a good time. And I'm like, that's what I try to do. Try to make sure kids always just kind of open up their minds, just make sure they have a good time and whatnot, and get them thinking about other things.
Yeah. It's a really fun and engaging way to get students to listen and learn stuff about that kind of stuff. But do any of your students like to tell stories now, or have you inspired them?
Yeah, like during the month of October here, I had told them, oh, you write some scary stories in your journals and whatnot, and I'll come and see them and whatnot. I'll read them. If you want to bring them to me, I'll read them and whatnot. And I want to see what you guys talk about. I want to see what your guys' scary stories are. And they're like, yeah, yeah. And they all like were so into it. And they talk about their scary stories. They come to me, ask me questions. What about this? What would they do here? I'm like, oh, they would do this, and this is what they would do. And they ask me questions about different creatures like skinwalkers and shapeshifters and wendigos and all that. And I always try to answer the questions the best I can with the most authenticity as I can. So I always have to kind of research some of them, ask people who know about them. I'll talk to some elders. I'll talk to my mom and ask them. And yeah, it's just fun to see how their imaginations work and how it like makes them grow and like makes them find out what they like. Because like when I said when I was a kid, this is stuff that opened me up to my culture and like made me actually ask more questions about it and make sure I lived it better and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. And also it adds on to just them being like good students, not only in school, students of the world, I guess, and a lot of interest in stuff. I remember when I had you in my school for the telling the scary stories, we did the week later we all had all of the kids tell their own scary stories, and they loved it. Like they were I've never seen them so engaged like in something that we've done together. So it was pretty sweet. Like it was a really cool experience, and kind of got to know the kids in different ways, the way that they're telling stories and stuff. And yeah, stay tuned for part 2 of the scary stories with Colton Phillips.